think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10.
Karoline Leavitt only secured her position because of her good look.
Pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this...
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah. I would just say a strong message who are out there.
A daytime talk show icon suddenly faces a massive backlash over a single comment, sending shockwaves through one of television's most recognized programs. In a matter of days, lawsuits are filed, network executives scramble, and social media ignites in a fierce debate about women's empowerment, free speech, and political bias. That's exactly what happened when Joy Behar, a longtime co-host of a popular daytime roundtable, made one incendiary remark about rising White House press secretary Karoline Leavitt. The fallout? A whirlwind of accusations, legal battles, and an exit so abrupt that it left viewers and the entire network reeling. This is the inside story of how one moment on live TV turned into a controversy that could reshape the future of daytime television. Even if you've never watched a single episode, chances are you've seen headlines. Joy Behar has been a familiar face on daytime television for years, known for her comedic quips and strong political stances. She's championed women's rights on countless occasions, often calling out individuals who undermine women's achievements. On the flip side, Karoline Leavitt is the youngest person ever to hold the position of White House press secretary, a role widely considered one of the most demanding in politics. With a resume that includes prior communications gigs for high-profile Republican figures, Leavitt was anything but a political novice, yet Joy reduced her achievements to a single factor: her looks. That offhand statement ignited a chain of events that few could have predicted. The bombshell remark dropped during a segment on The View, where the panel was discussing the new White House team under Donald Trump's administration. Leavitt, at just 27, had already made a splash with her first press briefing. Some viewers found her performance refreshing, while others were skeptical, pointing to her youth and lack of decades-long experience. But Joy's criticism wasn't about Leavitt's policies or her ability to handle tough questions. Instead, she suggested that Leavitt might have gotten her position simply because she's a 10, implying that her appearance secured her the job. In a single breath, Joy undercut Leavitt's credentials, turning what might have been a policy debate into a personal slight. Reaction in the studio was swift. Even viewers at home could practically feel the tension through the screen. Alyssa Farah Griffin, once part of the Trump administration, appeared visibly uncomfortable. A few audience members let out gasps, and the studio briefly fell silent. Some watchers later took to social media, saying they'd never seen the View's set grow so cold so fast. Others admitted they weren't surprised by Joy's bluntness. She has a reputation for bold commentary, but even longtime fans noted that this particular jab was beyond the usual comedic ribbing. Within minutes of that episode airing, social media went into an uproar. Criticism poured in from every corner of the political spectrum. Some of Joy's supporters insisted that her comments were taken out of context, dismissing the remark as a joke gone wrong. Yet many critics, some typically aligned with Joy's political leanings, lashed out at what they saw as blatant hypocrisy. How could someone who has spent years advocating for women's rights and empowerment stoop to belittling another woman based on appearance? One viewer tweeted, "I always respected Joy's candor, but this was a total betrayal of everything she claims to stand for." Others took a more sardonic angle, pointing out that if a conservative commentator had made such a statement, the condemnation would have been even harsher. In short, the moment Joy tried to reduce Karoline Leavitt's achievements, a firestorm erupted that left no side unscorched. All the while, Karoline Leavitt was quietly preparing her own response. Though only in her 20s, Leavitt was no stranger to controversy, having navigated the often tumultuous waters of Washington politics. She had defended Trump's stances during campaign trails and clashed with veteran journalists during press conferences. Still, she had never been so publicly belittled on prime daytime television by a figure known for championing women. If Joy thought Leavitt would shrug off the remarks, she was in for a surprise. Instead of simply venting on social media, Leavitt went a step further. She filed a lawsuit against Joy Behar and the network behind her show, accusing them of defamation and character assassination. In the legal complaint, Leavitt claimed that Joy's statements were not only baseless but also malicious in nature, crafted to discredit her competence and authority in the public eye. It didn't help that Joy's line about Leavitt being hired for her looks circulated on every major platform, from Twitter to mainstream news segments. By the time legal analysts began discussing the viability of Leavitt's case, ABC, the network hosting Joy's show, found itself in a precarious position. Could they be held liable for letting such a remark air unchallenged? Even if Joy was speaking off the cuff, the network's potential complicity became a hot topic. Behind closed doors, ABC executives were anything but calm. According to insiders, high-level meetings were convened to figure out how best to manage the situation. The network had weathered controversial moments on The View before. After all, heated exchanges were part of the show's appeal. But this time was different. There was a lawsuit in play, and the public seemed enraged on a scale that went beyond typical political banter. Some execs pushed for an immediate apology and a short suspension, hoping to quell the criticism. Others argued that Joy's remarks were indefensible and demanded more decisive action. Tensions ran so high that rumors swirled of heated confrontations between producers and the show's on-air personalities. Meanwhile, Joy Behar herself appeared somewhat blindsided by the scale of the backlash. Historically, she had bounced back from controversies with an apology or a comedic spin, but this incident felt far more serious. Critics kept pointing out how her stance on women's empowerment clashed with her snide comment about Leavitt's appearance. And because The View thrived on its co-hosts' strong personalities, Joy's colleagues found themselves caught in the crossfire. Some rushed to her defense, insisting that her remark was misinterpreted or that it was an attempt at sarcasm that never landed. Others distanced themselves, fearful of being seen as endorsing a statement. As word spread about Leavitt's lawsuit, different legal experts weighed in on what it would take for the claim to succeed. To prove defamation under U.S. law, especially for public figures, you typically need to show that the person making the statement did so with malice, meaning they knew it was false or were reckless about its truthfulness. Would Joy's comment about looks qualify as a knowingly false statement, or was it an offhand, if cruel, opinion? Some believed Leavitt might struggle to demonstrate malice, but others argued that Joy's platform and authority could sway public perception, fulfilling the requirement for harmful intent. In the midst of this legal chaos, talk about Karoline Leavitt's background took center stage. She had already been under intense scrutiny for her youth and ties to divisive political figures, but now the spotlight shifted onto her qualifications and track record. She'd served as a communications director in various Republican campaigns, supported Trump's policy narratives in press briefings, and earned a reputation for quickly and adeptly firing back at critics. Far from being a token appointee, she had accumulated a respectable list of achievements, which made Joy's remark seem even more glaring. With public pressure mounting, ABC eventually made its move. A sudden announcement declared that Joy Behar would be leaving The View, effective immediately. The official statement was brief and vaguely worded, claiming that Joy had chosen to step away to pursue other endeavors. Yet the timing, just days after Leavitt's defamation lawsuit made headlines, seemed too coincidental to be purely voluntary. Whispers inside the network suggested that ABC's top brass felt they had no choice but to show Joy the door to protect the show's reputation, as well as their own legal interests. Reaction to Joy's departure was swift. Critics of The View called it a long overdue measure, pointing to a history of controversial remarks and on-air feuds. Some even went so far as to say that the show itself should be axed, arguing that it had devolved into a platform for divisive and polarizing commentary. Others felt genuine sorrow at seeing such a longtime co-host pushed out. Joy had been a fixture of daytime television for many years, and her absence would leave a void that newer personalities might struggle to fill. Supporters claimed she was sacrificed to appease political forces and a lawsuit that might not even hold up in court. In an ironic twist, conservative commentators cheered Joy's exit as a triumph of accountability. They saw it as evidence that mainstream networks, often accused of leaning left, would no longer tolerate remarks that undermine genuine accomplishments on the right. For many of those observers, Karoline Leavitt became a sort of underdog hero, standing her ground against a daytime TV star who had belittled her. Meanwhile, Leavitt continued to appear in interviews, reiterating that her suit wasn't just about personal vindication, but also setting a precedent that women's qualifications shouldn't be minimized by snide remarks from larger platforms. Amid this upheaval, producers were left with a pressing question: how does The View move forward without Joy Behar? Some sources suggested the show might take a more moderate approach, balancing silencing liberal and conservative voices in an attempt to rebuild trust. Others argued that The View had long been reliant on controversy to drive ratings, and losing Joy might lead to a dip in viewership. Whoever fills her seat will need to navigate a sensitive environment, one in which every offhand comment could become the next viral scandal. After all, Joy's story proved that a single sentence can spark a storm that topples long-time careers and thrusts networks into legal jeopardy. For Joy Behar, the future remains unclear. Will she try to stage a comeback on a competing network or launch an independent podcast to speak her mind without corporate oversight? It's not unheard of for polarizing TV personalities to re-emerge in different formats, sometimes finding new audiences. But the lawsuit looming over her is no small matter, and any further missteps could deepen the legal and reputational risks. The same goes for ABC, which might still face legal questions about how well it monitors and manages on-air content, especially when it strays from spirited debate into potentially defamatory territory. Karoline Leavitt, for her part, has soared to a new level of recognition, not just in political circles, but in mainstream media as well. She's garnered sympathy from those who believe she was unfairly targeted, and she's gained notoriety among viewers who never expected to side with someone tied so closely to the Trump administration. Whether this new spotlight will serve her well in the long run is another matter entirely. High visibility in politics can be a double-edged sword, opening doors to future ambitions while painting a target on your back for critics and rivals. The broader implications of this drama can't be ignored. Public trust in mainstream media is at a historic low, and episodes like this feed into narratives that networks push certain agendas while silencing dissenting voices. Some worry that fear of legal action could stifle open discussion, making television shows overly cautious and bland. Others believe this controversy could prompt networks to enforce stricter guidelines and accountability measures for on-air talent, leading to more respectful and fact-based discourse. All eyes are now on The View, a program that has long prided itself on no-holds-barred dialogue among women with differing perspectives. Joy's exit creates a vacuum that will inevitably reshape the on-set dynamics. Producers might try to replace her with a similar figure, a strong-willed, unabashedly outspoken personality who can sustain viewership. Or perhaps they'll pivot to a completely different style, focusing on deeper analysis and nuanced conversations rather than quick-fire japs. Whatever direction they choose, they can't escape the reality that this scandal has left a mark on the show's reputation. Viewers may question the credibility of any new host who sits in Joy's old chair, and advertisers might be wary of more fiery incidents. In the final analysis, the standoff between Joy Behar and Karoline Leavitt has become a cautionary tale for both political pundits and daytime talk personalities. It underscores how swiftly public sentiment can shift, and how easily a single comment can overshadow a years-long career of achievements. It also highlights how legal battles can spiral from what starts as a spat on national TV, turning into a multi-layered crisis involving corporate executives, staffers, and lawyers. And for those who once saw Joy as a feminist icon, it's a sharp reminder that hypocrisy can sometimes unravel even the most enduring reputations. Where does that leave the rest of us? Some say it's time for mainstream outlets to handle controversial statements with greater care, ensuring that the desire for ratings doesn't eclipse core journalistic values or plain human decency. Others argue that Joy's ordeal will have a chilling effect on free speech, discouraging pundits from sharing candid opinions. Ultimately, viewers and networks alike will watch carefully to see how this saga influences future programming. Does Joy's forced exit signal a new era of accountability? Or is it simply the latest sensational chapter in the endless interplay between politics and entertainment? For now, the story remains unfinished. Joy Behar might speak out, revealing what really happened behind the scenes at ABC. Karoline Leavitt could escalate her legal challenge, bringing evidence that further implicates the network. The View itself might undergo a transformation, shedding old assumptions and forging a new identity, or it might fade into irrelevance if the audience tires of the drama. Regardless of how events unfold, one truth stands. A single remark has shaken daytime TV to its core, reminding everyone how fast reputations can topple when personal attacks overshadow substance. In the end, the choice is yours. Did ABC make the right decision, or did they cave to public outcry? And more importantly, is this scandal the beginning of a more careful, respectful era in televised discussions, or just another momentary shock that will be forgotten the next time controversy strikes. Only time will tell, and in the realm of daytime television, time has a habit of revealing everything eventually. So as the dust settles, we're left with a pressing question. Does this saga mark the dawn of a turning point for talk shows like The View? Or will the cycle of outrage, lawsuit, and departure simply repeat itself under a different co-host's name? The one certainty is that audiences will be watching, some in disappointment, some in fascination, and many in the hope that, after all this commotion, meaningful change might finally be on the horizon. Until then, the legacy of Joy Behar's exit will loom large, and Karoline Leavitt's resolve will continue to shine a spotlight on the line between biting commentary and defamation. Stay tuned, because the fallout from this scandal might just reshape the landscape of daytime television for years to come.